Well, dealing with a bit of sass and talking back at home, there's actually a reason for it. Parenting expert Michelle McVittie has some tips on how to handle things. And I was going to talk back to you, but I wasn't one of those kids. My parents may say else. I don't remember being one of those.
Yes, and you probably weren't. And I know that it's a certain personality too. Sometimes we're screaming on the inside, but we don't give it back to our parents. And there are some people that are dealing with 3- and 4-year-olds that will be like, no, I don't want to, and we think, what are you, a three-nager or whatever they're calling them? Like they're little teenagers, but they're younger. And it's just a certain personality that is going to give you more of that. But as they age, you're going to see more of the sass and the talking back because they want to feel heard.
Okay. Is it a learned thing? Like, are they learning off you?
Well, I mean, we are their role model, right? So because you'd never talked back to me, let's just pretend you're going to talk back to me. And I'm like,
maybe I do.
Oh my God, don't you talk to me that way, young lady, right?
Yeah.
And get back and forth. I'm jumping into that, right? I might be like, you can't talk to me that way. Well, how come you can yell, but I can't yell?
Because I'm the one doing the interview, Michelle.
Right.
Now I'm liking doing this.
See? And, well, I'm the kid, and you need to listen to me, and you're the grown-up. So we can go back and forth. And there's a lot of children.
Not get anywhere.
And not get anywhere, yes. And then we learn this is how we communicate, right? So does it take us back? Absolutely. Are we like, you can't talk to me that way? Absolutely, but let's do it in a different way and not get caught up in that. You can be angry. I see that you're upset, but you can't, once you've calmed down, then I can talk to you. And do not engage in that, right? It's tough because we get into that I insist parenting and don't you dare,
yes.
Right?
And a lot of times it can happen out in public.
Of course.
Like I saw a great example yesterday at Limeridge, and I was like, oh, if only I had my phone and I could get this for my segment. But
yeah, yes, yeah. But what was that about? Was the child upset? Was this is the norm? And then they're doing it in public?
Hungry?
Are they hungry? So it's not excusing the behavior, but it's how we as the adult respond. And sometimes we have to ignore some of the eye rolling, some of the that's not fair. But as they start getting older and they're saying, this isn't fair, that's not okay. The way you're seeing things is not the way I'm seeing things. And then how do I respond? With anger, because emotion evokes behavior. So we have to try to pause and say, what is it that you're trying to tell me? And maybe not in the moment, but later on to say, you got really mad at me in the morning. What was going on there? Because you're not hearing me, Mom. This house is not fair. You treat my sister this way and I can't get this. And then they start getting elevated, right? Because they're agitated. And that's when we have to be like, okay, I'm trying to hear you, but I can't hear you when you do this. Or when we're out in public and you do this or you do that, I'm not okay with it. I'm definitely not okay with it in the home, but this is where we have to talk about it. Right. Right.
And you don't want to say like, what did you do wrong back there? Right. Because there's that fine line of discipline, but then also communicating.
I think so. And you have to pick your battles because are they trying to communicate something with you and you're missing it because you're focusing on their tone or you're focusing on how they said something. And you're seeing it on a regular basis. We have to plan ahead, right? And have these conversations when they're calm. But in that moment, we can have that pause button. We can say, hey, you're upset. Sometimes we just plan to ignore some of the sass because I am not getting into this right now. And I'm going to walk away from this argument because I'm not hooking in.
Okay.
Right?
Because ignoring it is the wrong thing to do too, because then it's just ignoring it and going on and waiting for the next time.
Yes, that's correct. But planned ignoring is saying when you give me an eye roll or when you're like, that's stupid, Mom, or whatever, I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to get into it, right? Okay. I'm just going to say, okay, well, I'm just going to walk away from this because I don't want to get into this back and forth over nothing.
Yes.
So, but yes, if you're seeing a behavior on a regular basis, no, we're not just going to ignore it. And then every time it comes up, it's triggering me. We as the adult have to say, okay, how are we going to deal with this? Okay. And knowing that your child sometimes is just going to be more sassy.
All right. We'll get all of your because you've got such great tips. We'll get them all up on our website, chch.com/morninglive.